Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of this honorable body. I'm proud to stand before you today to present the budget for the General Government Subcommittee, a budget that has been worked on for many months, as the gentleman for Todd alluded to earlier, not just thrown together at the last moment. A budget that has had a lot of input, a budget that has been given a lot of thought and consideration, keeping one major thing in mind as we developed our budget, and that is for everyone in this body, in this chamber, for those at home watching on KET, if you are a taxpayer in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, this is your money. It belongs to you, the taxpayer. And we looked at how we could most wisely invest your monies into making our Commonwealth stronger and better. With that in mind, we began with something that I've long fought for and is long overdue. We've went many years and we have neglected our state employees. In this budget, every state employee in the Commonwealth of Kentucky will receive a much-needed 6% pay raise. But this budget also requires in the second year that the Secretary of Personnel develop a plan to revise the classification and compensation for our funding of our state employees. And what that means is we have a funding mechanism, a chart in place, if you will. And over time, without cost of living raises, in order to recruit more and more individuals to come to work for the Commonwealth, we've had to come above the base pay and get closer to what's known as the mid-range. And you may say, well, what does that do? Well, that means somebody working 10 years for the Commonwealth, dedicating their lives to the service, may be making the same as someone we hire today because we've not been given cost of living raises. Folks, I can't stress enough how important it is for us to regularly give cost of living raises to our state employees. So we asked back in the interim for this to be addressed. It was not. So we're requiring, unfortunately, in this budget, as the Secretary put this together so we can address this pay disparity amongst our state employees and correct it once and for all. That's one thing it does. Another thing it does is we will be investing another $350 million of ARPA funds in the funding towards clean water and wastewater projects across the Commonwealth to each county by population. This will bring not only clean drinking water to our constituents, but it provides for economic investment of infrastructure in areas much needed in this Commonwealth. As I stated earlier in committee meeting, one of my most rewarding conversations I had with a constituent of mine back early in the spring was that when I first ran for office, I went to their house and they showed me the drinking water. It came from a deep well mine. And literally their water was so bad that they couldn't use it to cook or drink. I mean, it was really, really bad. You've seen them on TV where they hold up and it was just so bad. And I committed to them. I was going to do everything I can to help them get clean drinking water. And in the spring, I got a call from a grown man that was crying on the other end of the phone, thanking me because finally, water lines were being laid by his house, and he was going to have clean drinking water, something many of us take for granted. So that $350 million is important to all of our districts. Another thing we are doing in this budget is we are eliminating the practice of bonding to pay for maintenance and repair projects through agency maintenance pools. We are going to provide cash, not bonds, for capital projects that are less than $3 million. What does that mean? That means we're not going to bond these projects. We're going to pay for them as we go, so we save that interest rate. Getting these bonds is like using a credit card and trying to pay a little bit here and there. You're going to get eat up of interest. That is not a good way to use your taxpayer dollars at home. Pay as we go. We do it, we save money. That's money we can invest in other things, other resources, and our people. Another thing we will be doing is we'll be providing funds for the startup operations of the Bowling Green Veterans Nursing Home in the second year. Included in that will be the language that it is in the intent of the General Assembly for the next Veterans Nursing Home when beds become available to be located in McGoffin County and eastern Kentucky. Next, we will provide $500,000 each year of the budget for the Raising Hope Initiative, a farmer suicide prevention and safety program that will be moved to the Department of Agriculture. We will provide funding for additional personnel to the Office of the Attorney General, to our Commonwealth Attorney's offices across the Commonwealth, and to each of our county attorney's offices as well. We will, in this budget, return 100% of our coal severance taxes after the debt services have been paid will be returned to our coal counties from which they came. And last, but certainly not least, actually something very important to me, Mr. Speaker, is this: the CLEP funding for our police and fire. We will be increasing the CLEP funding to these individuals from $4,000 a year to $4,300 a year. And we will increase the CLEP funding for our local volunteer fire departments who currently receive $11,000 a year. They will now receive $11,500 a year. Mr. Speaker, this is a budget that has been well thought of, that's been well planned. We've been given an allotment of money, and it would have been very easy, Mr. Speaker, to have just went through and did everything and anything and blown the money, we would call it where I come from. One place, I know a man I read, he spent all that he had on riotous living. That's easy to do. That makes a lot of friends. But we got to think of tomorrow, not just today. We took a very reasonable and responsible approach. We met the needs. We met the needs in this budget that has long been overlooked in our past budgets coming out of this body. This budget meets those needs, and we are prepared because we've taken a sensible approach to get a head start on the next budget.